Good morning. Hello, everyone. Good evening for most of us. Hey,
Yeah. Good
yeah,
morning.
good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Well, there's a couple of you that, well, there's like half of you, well, I guess almost all of you that I've either spoken to this morning or spoke to, in the last 24 hours. So this is good. I've got a little bit of a housekeeping item. One is, it's for, I guess, for Sime, Gunjan, and there was someone else. It might have been Raj as well. That for whatever reason, and I think that for whatever reason, when you guys enter into the meet, it asks to admit you, and that is not the desired mode of you being able to join. You should be able to join without me having to click admit. And I think that we solved this problem in another community call, and that was just ensuring that, I think it's two things. One, that the Google account that you have is explicitly invited to the meeting. And then two, I think that you're signed in under that account. And then that way you're able to join. So I don't know. So the reason that I bring it up and kind of address that housekeeping item is because it's on occasion we'll get going in the community meeting and we'll be engrossed in a discussion and I'll miss the ding, the beep that says that people are ready to join. And I would hate for someone to be sitting out there in the cold. So anyway, Raj, Sime, Gunjan, maybe take a look if you would. Just double check if you're signed in to your Google account in your current session. I wonder if that's the thing.
Yeah, Lee, I just signed in with the, I got in, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it's one of those conundrums, one of those things. Fair enough. We are 6 minutes after. A few things. I just shared the link to the meeting minutes in the chat, so please jump into the meeting minutes. You'll hear me be a broken record about saying that the meeting minutes are a community effort, just like all of the other projects that we do. So please, edit those as at will. Some of you have introduced some agenda items, which is good. It's been good that the community has been growing by leaps and bounds, and we have a couple of calls a week, and the agendas on those have generally been spilling over, which is great. So that's just a reminder that if you have an agenda item, to please go ahead and lodge it. It's kind of a call for topics right now if you have some. And I think for Chaim, you are, I think, like generally you had been perpetually sort of dropping the kids off at school. So, but how has that changed for you now?
Yes. No dropping off of kids.
No dropping off of kids.
Yes. Sometimes making breakfast.
Sure. Yeah.
We're all at home.
Gotcha. Okay. All sheltering in place. Everyone's.
Of course.
We're on global lockdown. Okay. Fair enough. Very good. Let me maybe. I guess I thought I was sharing the meeting minutes. I'm not. So good. So let's get kicked off. A couple of things we're going to force people to do. We're in the presence of, I think, only one individual on the call who hasn't been on before, and so Ajit, you are the winner. Everyone who joins for the first time has to awkwardly introduce themselves and get.
Okay, hi Dave. How you have been doing?
Good, good. Yeah, we can hear you. Folks, we're in the presence of greatness. If you don't know Ajit, he's a fellow Docker captain. We seem to be sprouting Docker captains left and right in this community, which is great. But
Yeah, great to be here. Great to be here.
yeah, and there's a few folks I suspect know you, and maybe a few who don't. So maybe if you want to introduce, that would be good.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ajit Singh Raina, and I am based out of Bangalore. So I am a Docker captain as well as Docker Bangalore meetup organizer. So I have been organizing meetups here. Docker Bangalore group is around 10,000 plus members. And I'm also, I have been writing my personal blog, collabnix.com, where you can find around 200 plus blogs on Docker, Kubernetes, and cloud. Yeah, that's pretty short.
Nice. Yeah, very good. I'm pretty giggly that Ajit is on the call, so that this is great. I think I don't know that it gets. To be fair, I don't know that it takes much to get me giggly about people joining the call, but very pleased to have Ajit here. So,
Thank you.
All right. Just maybe primarily for Ajit's benefit and for Raj's, maybe some other folks, and that is just to say, on a weekly basis, currently we have 2 calls that we do. This is the community meeting in which the topics are pretty broad, and we often have people from other communities either presenting here or we're sort of discussing current events in the ecosystem. We also talk a lot about Meshery. We occasionally have people demoing new features and functionality on Meshery, so that's good. We also have a weekly call on Wednesdays, which is a bit more of a development call in general, mostly on Meshery specifically, but also kind of on the landscape project. And soon we'll be likely spinning up 2 other working groups, one for performance management that's going to focus on the SMPS, the Service Mesh Performance Specification. And I keep thinking that I'm sharing my screen and I don't. That's what's going on. It turns out that if you use a non-Google web browser, how's this going to work? Because I'm recording that. I'm using Safari and it just wants to share the whole screen, not the app. But everyone should have a link to the meeting minutes. That's what I was going to actually bring up. So let's try the full desktop and see how much everyone else enjoys my 5K screen. How small it looks. We'll see. I say that as if that's something special. 5K is special for me, but we'll be spinning up a couple of other working groups. The performance one that is to focus on the Service Mesh Performance Specification. I know some of you are working on that. Some of you are quite familiar with it. For those that aren't, quick context here is that one of the areas of functionality that Meshery is really, as a project, has kind of got an initial focus on is identifying and helping people understand the overhead of a service mesh and how they're performing. And there are things to be done there. It can be helpful to have easy to use tooling for understanding the overhead. But it's my perspective, and I think that of some others, that it's one thing to look at the overhead, but to look at it in something of a vacuum isn't necessarily that helpful. It needs to be characterized and maybe compared to others who are running similar environments. It also, there are many signals, there are many things to measure about overhead incurred in running a mesh, and distilling those into a simple index, a mesh dex, if you will, I think can be very helpful to have people quickly comprehend sort of where they're at on a scale of how well they're doing in terms of the overhead incurred for the features that they're getting out of a mesh, the value that they're deriving out of a service mesh. And so the intention of part of this project is a couple of things, but ultimately is to enable people to measure the value of that they're deriving from running a service mesh in context of the overhead incurred for running it, and give them a framework for evaluating that. So there's enough work to be done there that a new kind of working group will be spun up. I think just in advance of that working group being spun up, there's been a lot of interest in the community about essentially a work stream around continuous integration. And so there's been a call for everyone to rank what time might work best for them. It's just a simple SurveyMonkey questionnaire. If you are interested in CI, we use the GitHub Actions and workflows within the project, and they are doing more and more for us. If you're interested, please, and you haven't voted yet, or you haven't ranked which times would work best for you, please do. And I tried to make it as non-confusing as possible by listing a number of different time zones. I didn't even capture all of the time zones that you all are representing today, but please vote, because this week we'll go ahead and get that spun up. Also, I know there's a couple of you that are interested in essentially being working group leads. That as each of these get going, I'll be there to help seed those working groups, but it's not my intention to be, much like the other projects that we have here, it's not my intention to be running those, to be. As a matter of fact, speaking of which, we had rotated around kind of the, call it what you will, the thing that I'm doing right now, sort of administering the community meeting. I get sick of hearing my own voice, and I know, you don't have to say it, but I know many of you do as well, so we'll just leave it at that. Keep your comments to yourself. But the point is, if anyone is interested in facilitating these meetings, please signal, because I would love for someone else to be doing it, and for me to be heckling in the background. So there's that. So there's that. We'll have the SurveyMonkey for that. Please vote as we go to spin up that continuous. We'll provide a lot of clarity about very shortly about which individuals are involved and kind of focused in which aspects of the project. There are a few individuals that have, well, over the last year, become maintainers of various components. We don't have enough maintainer coverage just yet. I would say this is, I guess I was going to say something that's blaringly obvious, but maybe not to everyone, and that is that all of those maintainers, all of them are from different companies, and that's the part of the goal of this project, and part of the reason that there are CNCF TOC members supporting Meshry going into the CNCF, because it is such a diverse project, or the governance is so open. Governance as a keyword is something we've been talking about the last few weeks, about ensuring that a lot of that is kind of written down, that the community is kind of bursting at the seams, and needs to have some additional structure in order to scale and scale well, so that each of you, there are many of you I consider that really have a sense of ownership over various aspects of the project. I have a sense of belonging to the community, which truly warms my heart. But some of that needs some better organization around it, so that those things can scale, and that you can help it scale. All right. Next up was just this notion that many of you are familiar with stars on GitHub projects, or you all are. I guess I kind of equate those to like the like button on Facebook or something, the like button on LinkedIn. Like it or not, it is the number of stars on a project is a gating factor for a number of activities or programs that a project can go into. So one of the programs that Meshry has been involved in the past has been, well, in the past and is currently is Google Summer of Code. So project was involved in Google Summer of Code 2019 and is in 2020. Some of you on the call have submitted proposals and papers for various project ideas. Some of you are signing up to be mentors. That's great. Kush here in the community has recently educated me on the fact that, and Chaim was with me at this conference actually. It was the Open Source Summit put on by the Linux Foundation about once every year. They had announced at the last Open Source Summit, Community Bridge. Not sure how many of you are familiar with Community Bridge, but it is a Linux Foundation project. And in many respects, depends on who you are, depends on your perspective, but you could almost think of it like a GitHub sponsors. So GitHub had brought forth the ability to sponsor individual, I think for the most part, maybe for the most part, individuals, right? As kind of an open source gig economy, if you will. So I bring this up to say that there's now a mentoring program through the Community Bridge as well. And so Layer5 intends to participate in this just like we do Google Summer of Code. So there's opportunities there. The point of me bringing those up was that part of the requirement, those were examples of like there's a certain number of GitHub stars that are needed on a project to participate in programs. So, like it or not, GitHub stars are meaningful in this way, even though in some respects they're totally meaningless. In other respects, they're quite meaningful. And I couldn't help myself, but a few minutes ago, notice the nearly vertical jump in GitHub stars happening late last night and this morning. So Kush is, well, it looks like he's sort of going for the gold here, because I think Naveen is the current title holder, and Jesus was our first to just have a massive jump on the project. So if you haven't started the project and you're here on this call, please go tell your friends, all that kind of a thing. That will help us as we go to engage in other programs. Okay, a couple other announcements, and then we want to get into some topics, hopefully. And that is, there was a presentation of Meshry at, they're at a virtual meetup here in Austin. We organize Cloud Native Austin, which is a CNCF sponsored meetup, as well as Docker Austin, a Docker sponsored meetup. We've kind of brought those two together, and we did our first virtual meetup last night. And so there's a link to how it is that we introduced Meshry. And when we do, we introduce Meshry in this way, through the community, through you. And so I think I've warned most of you, if you're going to spend time here, make sure that you like your profile photo, because that'll be put anywhere that I can find a place to put it. And so that was done last night. An interesting thing about that particular presentation was there's a cloud architect from Ericsson that's recently joined the community, asking lots of fantastic questions. One of those questions was, is Meshry capable of managing multiple clusters? And the answer is, the short answer is yes. And that recorded live stream demonstrates that. The longer answer is yes, but the user experience is quite crappy at the moment, or from my perspective, and is an area of work for the project itself to create something to really make a first-class citizen out of the concept of environments. And that meaning that right now, Meshry really wants to connect to one Kubernetes cluster and sort of only one at a time. And so that needs to change so that Meshry can help people run many meshes in different clusters, different environments. Okay, moving right along. Meshry 3.12 and 3.13, very small releases, two of which were made, I believe, this week. This last one was Luke Juggery, another Docker captain, was sort of interested in doing things with Raspberry Pis and Meshry, and so had helped create builds of Meshry CTL that are compatible with ARM, that are hopefully compatible with Raspberry Pis. The .12 release, does anyone remember? My memory fails me at the moment. Very small release as well.
March 25th.
Say that again.
Created smooth support.
March 25.
Okay, good. I think that's Naveen that was speaking. Your voice is really low, but Kush and Nipur had helped create scoop packages for Meshry CTL. I'm kind of curious, just let me ask everyone here, as you look at Meshry and you look at the packages that it supports and the platforms that it supports, how does this compatibility list strike you? As robust or as kind of par for the course for a lot of open source projects?
We have covered almost every platform.
Yeah, we're getting, yeah. You know, actually, Kush or anyone else, like actually, since Luke is kind of working on Raspberry Pi things, we may want to add Raspberry Pi and put a question mark next to it or put an X next to it, but just to indicate that potentially support is coming there. Anybody else have any? Yeah, go ahead.
Using OpenShift support.
Yeah, that's a great, we should put that up on the page as well as being an open question mark. Because I couldn't say for sure. But yeah, it's okay. So I'll take some notes on that. But lastly, is the preparation for the .4 release, and Shivai is kind of the .4 release lead. So Shivai, do you have an update that you want to give?
So the blog post that I've created, I'm just creating a web page for that. So basically, I was also trying to, I discussed with Lee that we'll be having a separate releases tag on the Meshry.io website as well. So I'm just sharing my blog post that I've created. I'll just share it one. I guess since Lee, you are sharing the screen. I'm not sure, it's not showing me the option to share my screen. Yeah, okay. I'll just share it. I guess this it's showing it right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this was the release that I'm been working on. So basically, I have added like some of the new like features that are mainly there, like some of the bug fixes. What are the new things? And as I'd already showed in the previous meeting, we have like the list. I'll be creating a URL link that will be having the latest all the releases in much more detail, along with the specific pull request that they are using. And I'm also collecting just some of the small code snippets that we can use for each and every new feature that we have to be included within the blog post. So this is the update that I have regarding the release 4. So I'm just trying to fix that particular bug with the website, and once that is done, then we can just go on to release on the website and as a blog post as well. Lee, you're not audible.
Good. Okay. I'm glad that only took like 10 seconds to figure out that I was talking to myself. Usually like if you go past 30 seconds or so, it's kind of a sign of narcissism. And so I was well underneath the. Shivai, can you show people where the new releases page might be? Or if that's, I don't know if you're able to demo that. And Shivai, you might be on mute. Oh, no, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So basically, what we had decided with Lee was that we'll be having a specific releases tab under the docs section. So usually, if you go to the docs and if you go all the way down towards the releases tab, it's only then you can see the releases like this. But this only shows like a very like a one-liner description of the releases. But what I'm trying to go for is that if we can have a very like detailed section, so we don't necessarily have to go to the GitHub page for the releases tab and then actually have a look at whatever changes are there. That as I'd shown in the previous like the community meeting, that we can have much more detailed explanation of each and every new release with specific points, bullet points for the all the various adapters and what all changes were there in the adapters. Then the UI fixes, the bug fixes, new feature additions. So those will be done in a new page. I'm just sort of working on the routing right now. So otherwise, I've created the page and I'm just trying to fix that right now. I shared the bug with the with Lee, so I'm just trying to fix that, and it should possibly get done by today itself. And we can then go on with the official release of the page and of the blog post as well.
Shiva, I just have one question.
Yeah.
When we're like going to the release page, there are different versions mentioned over there. You're
Yeah.
saying that we will create a different page for all the versions. So we are going to link that to the name of the version or to the short description of the version.
Okay, so basically, if for example, like this, I had this discussion with Lee that when we click on the releases page, it will be a separate page. Like it's not something that you will access through the documentation, because I think that if we can have a much more detailed explanation of each and every version. So what my design scheme that I'm working on is that we'll have the latest release on the front page that will have all the details that are covered, and then we'll also have sort of a drop down menu or a sidebar menu which will have all the different releases, and if we click on any one of them, it will just show that particular release in much more detail, because currently we just have a like a one liner description, and I guess that is somewhat limited, as you know, because we are not even giving like a HTML. For example, we're not even giving a hyperlink to actually go to the GitHub releases page for the releases on the documentation. So if we have it in much more detail, for example, like each and every specific major point that is being covered within, say, the UI, or like a major bug fix with each and every release, if we can have that on our page, because a lot of the different companies, what they do is that they actually have a separate release document that they are releasing with each and every cycle. So that literally covers each and every major feature addition or bug that they have solved. So I guess even if we can go with that kind of a route, it would be great as compared to just having like a one-liner description on the releases.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for the detailed description of this. Thank you so much.
All right. Very good. Okay. Oh, very good. Durgesh, I think it was just on, had to jump off. Durgesh was on last night's virtual meetup, which was very nice to see him. And Adina was there, and so was Vijay. So naturally, they had. It was my job to embarrass them on the call about the contributions they make in the community. So very good. Any other comments about V.4? For my part, there's one other comment here, and it's really the need to meet with Dheeraj of Citrix to get the Citrix adapter. Ideally, right now there's a bug, and basically that bug is going to keep the adapter in beta. But it would be fantastic to be able to announce a .4 release with support for Citrix. Okay. All right, those are the end of the announcements. And if you guys have topics, we've got a couple to talk about, but please go ahead and list these.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, Lee, that didn't we have a release of Citrix already?
Say that. There's an echo.
There's some echo going on.
Yeah. Let me. Okay, I think we got it. All right. There is. I think Shivai, you had said, "Hey, do we have a release drafter deployed anywhere?" And
No. My question was regarding the Citrix launch. So didn't we have like a release which already covered the Citrix launch already, or?
I don't believe that near as I recollect, I don't know that we messaged it, in part because it was an alpha state or a beta state thing, and that of the partnership that the Layer 5 has with Citrix, that we wanted to kind of make a bigger splash when that was to come forth. So I don't know that we have. It's one of those things that can be quietly mentioned as a beta and then make a bigger splash later when it hits stable, maybe, but it is certainly something to include either way, whether it's in beta or stable. Another topic that was actually related to what Shivai was just going over, and that is potential use of a few different bots, I think. And one of those bots that had been suggested is Release Drafter. Does anyone want to present this or talk about it? Maybe show how it's working in the Meshery temp repo?
Screen.
Very good. Yep, yeah, Kush, if you wanted to, yeah, there you go.
Is it visible?
It is.
So like the Shiva was saying that we need to update a release page, and we need to include each and every PR which was included in the release. So I have just integrated release drafter into Meshery temp repo, which can be used as a GitHub action. Like if you will see the release drafter action in the Meshery temp repo, we don't need to give any external permission to the bot, which will let us not to compromise with the privacy of our code. And if you will go over to release section, you will see that there are the following changes. Each and every PR has been mentioned with the link to the PR and the title of the PR. We can also thank our contributors. Now coming to the subsections like bug fixes, UI changes, docs changes, we can specify those subsections in the release drafter.yml, where like if you will see over here, this is very naive template, like I have not upgraded it, or that is the default template with which the release drafter uses. Any PR having label feature or enhancement will be included in the subsection features. Any PR having labels fix, bug fix, or bug will be included into subsection bug fixes. We can edit this subsection and labels according to what we follow in the Meshery currently. this would be it for now.
Comments? Anyone see any issue?
Also, the release drafter follows the semantic releasing.
Which fits in quite nicely. Anyone see any issue with use of release structure? Yeah, go ahead, Simon.
Kush, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Kush, can you generate? You can generate the release drafter, or just using some template for that?
No, actually, release drafter has been added as a GitHub action. Every release will be produced by GitHub actions, and we can configure the release drafter using the config file, the release drafter YML, which can specify the configuration in the GitHub action argument itself.
Okay, Kush. Just want to know that there are already pre-built. I've just seen the release drafter ASP.NET Core. They have generated auto release drafter for that. So you just trigger an action and they build that release drafter for you. So is that kind of approach you have used in that? Have you seen that kind of approach in
Your voice is cracking. I can't hear you properly.
Kush? Now can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now.
I just want to know that when we build when we trigger an action in a GitHub, so there is some kind of commits out there that's commit going to be drafted to that release. So how many commits are that for that's a release drafter? So that's a release drafter that you build. Have you have you have you built that down? Or some kind of a template you are using or any other thing you are using for that?
The release drafter is a GitHub app. I have not built it. It is an official Git. It is a GitHub app which can be used by anyone. And release drafter will be the action will be triggered as soon as a PR is merged into the master branch or whichever branch you want to release.
Okay, Kush, good. That's a good. Actually, I am using the same kind of a Docker action for that. So I have built define the Docker action there. So every software I needed for that action is pre-built in a Docker images and Docker container. And that Docker container has a pre-built ASP.NET Core .NET Core built-in release drafter for that. So I have don't a huge number of code for that. I think I just give you some repo or snapshot of that if you think that's approach, this kind of approach is relevant.
Release draft is quite a light app, and also the actions are pretty quick. So I don't think we would need anything else. Like if we can see the release drafter don't manages the Docker container images, and I also don't think any Docker action would have permission to make really custom releases or have or include the releases with PR, which release drafter does.
Okay, good question. I just share with you some code for that, so you can think it's a get better or not. You can pull me off for that. I just want to know just because what I am using there for Docker action is kind of a similar thing, but in a different way. So where I am using that I have configured pre-compiled things that I think I shared some code, some repo for that. I think you can see what's if that's a go.
Sure, sure. We can look over the Docker actions also. If it is better option, we can definitely go for that.
Okay, good, Kush. I share with you we're on the Slack.
All right. Any other comments on? Actually, these are great topics for the upcoming CI working group. If before we end today's meeting, I'll try to show you what the responses are shaping up to be. But one of the next topics up was is that Raj is here. Raj has been around the community for a while. Ended up giving, I think, kind of an impromptu demo of Litmus Chaos a while ago, Raj. And Chaos is.
Yes, you were saying something, sorry.
Yeah, no, and Chaos is something that we've spoken about in the past that has been part of the original thinking of something that Meshery would get to. There's so much kind of roadmap that has been in the way to getting to it that we haven't kind of gotten around to it. In that time, Chaos Cube and Litmus Chaos and Chaos Mesh and there's 6 more of them have come around. And as we go to, for my part personally, I'll be spending some time looking toward chaos things based on other hats that I wear in the community. And we had a presentation in the CNCF's SIG network of Chaos Mesh. Those folks have been on this call before and have given a little bit of overview about Chaos Mesh. I think there's a recording of them giving a presentation about Chaos Mesh that I'll put into the meeting minutes. They just gave that yesterday. And so I thought I would poke at Raj to maybe in part kind of have a part of that discussion here about refreshing some of us on Litmus Chaos, and some of us that haven't seen Litmus Chaos. I guess, Raj, now I'm kind of putting you on the spot, and we didn't even necessarily talk about doing a demo or sort of introducing the project, but that was kind of in part my thoughts, was like that we were going to be spending time looking at meshery monkey things or mesh monkey things. And
Yeah, I was thinking you were saying about the bootstrapping this repo. So you have a repo for Kiosk, right? So I want your thoughts. What do you think about like a neutral thought, not about any other platform? What failures you see in the Mashery platform while running in the production? So I want to discuss these failures to be like a neutral way, not any platform, so that we can improve this platform.
right, okay, yep, which is the your question is, hey, can we have a discussion about kind of project goals, sort of setting aside choice of platform for the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there is a repo that was created some long time ago, this one, and never, we hadn't put any code there. The thoughts that the community has had to date are, for the most part, out in the community, the Meshery community drive, I think under the functional architecture and design. Meshing with Chaos is the name of it. There's not this, and Raj, you've seen this before. There's
Yeah.
not a whole lot to it other than to say that service meshes are a facilitator of a great many things. One of those things can be chaos, and that as Meshery tries to help people operate service meshes better, tries to help them improve the way in which they run their services, that it is very much in line with part of the project's goals to potentially facilitate to incorporate some amount, some different types of chaos, some network-centric, kind of mesh-centric chaos, and then to begin to facilitate some experiments. And that's a whole mouthful, just what I said, like defining chaos, having a mechanism to schedule experiments and run them and do partly focus.
Yeah. That is great.
I don't consider that we would be successful or that we would necessarily want to go reinvent the wheel per se, but have considered what it might mean to um, integrate with or take advantage of some of these other applications.
Yeah, in comparison with kiosk mesh, we do have the network experiment, like five experiments: corruptions, network corruption, delay, latency, and like according to kiosk mesh, they also have. But apart from this, we have the features like scheduling, like orchestrating the kiosk on a larger platform. These are the features what the Litmus have. Uh, so I want you to just go through it, and yeah, we can start working with the Mashery charts. I'm thinking to add some Istio charts in the hub of Litmus kiosk, some Istio related kiosk experiment. So I would need your help regarding that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Very good. Am I sharing my screen? Yeah. Raj, here's some quick questions about litmus chaos, if I can, and that is, does litmus chaos deploy as, does it have custom resources in Kubernetes?
yeah, CIDs. Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Is the project really Kubernetes only?
Yeah, it is pretty only for the Kubernetes cloud native
Got it.
way of.
Okay. And then as such, is there Windows support currently or roadmap for it?
It is not yet Windows support, but we are trying because it will run on a Docker platform, right? So yeah, it will support if you run it in Docker in Windows.
Okay, got it. Understood. Yeah, Windows through.
If you install Docker on Windows and run the experiment in a Docker container.
Yeah. Okay, and then what does the SDK look like, or the framework for creating new chaos? Like, what is that?
Like creating new kiosk is a pretty manual way. You have to write the logic behind what you want to inject. There are pretty much libraries for injection of kiosks. Like it is an integration of many libraries like Pumba, Powerful Seal, and many more kiosk toolkit. So you use of this, you can inject some kiosk, and it is more than a kiosk. You can see the pre-kiosk and post-kiosk. You can write your own pre-kiosk and post-kiosk conditions. What you want to see before kiosk injection, what you want to see after kiosk injection.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, that's an interesting concept to me. The pre-chaos thing, like I understand that when people go to run an experiment, and that they're going to want to identify what has happened to their system, so they're going to want to look at post-chaos, assess things
Yes,
post-chaos,
correct. Yes,
and,
correct.
and it does make
That,
sense.
yeah, and kiosk mesh doesn't provide this thing. In my opinion, they only just doing the kiosk, not checking the resiliency of the application.
And so, Raj, actually, maybe if you would humor us, maybe we could get you on the schedule for next week,
Yeah, sure.
to kind of do a demo or something, kind of sort of
Yeah,
introduce.
sure. No problem. No problem.
Okay. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
sure.
and then just maybe last question from me, real quick, and that is, the primary language of Litmus is Go.
Sorry.
The Litmus Chaos project, is that primarily Python based?
Python. We are using the Ansible to write the experiment logic, and Ansible is written on Python, and that's all Python. But we are starting using the Litmus in Go. So we have created recently one repo Litmus-Go. in the Litmus organization. We are migrating some of the experiment to Go based experiment.
Gotcha. Okay. Anyone else have any questions for Raj while he's here? Nice. Good. Thanks for joining today, Raj. It's good to have you on again. I mean, it sounds like we'll get you on next week and get some time set aside to kind of run through an overview.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
That'd be nice.
Same community or developer sync up?
Either would work for me.
Sure, developer. I would like to join the developer.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got about 5 minutes left. There's more topics to go through. Before we start any other ones, I just want to ask, does anyone have any topics they wanted to raise today? Okay. All right. Well, then there was a relatively short one, and that was a consideration of the use of a welcome bot. This is maybe in some respects hardly worth everyone's time. That said, it's just, so we'll take like 2 minutes on it, and that is that Ashish had identified the potential use of a welcome bot. There's a bunch of bots that I think we're finding are going to be useful to the community. And one of those is essentially this guy right here that says, when someone makes their first contribution, thank you for contributing to Meshery, and sort of generally welcome someone for opening up a pull request. One of the hangups that happens for people pretty often when they go to submit their first PR is not necessarily being in practice of signing off their commits. And so as we look at this welcome bot, it would be really nice. I mean, I'm sure that we can customize this message, but it would be really nice that if it was able to include some logic where if the commits weren't signed off, or if the DCO bot had failed, that then part of the message to the contributor would be a specific set of instructions about how to amend their commits with their signature. I know Ashish has been kind of focused here. Ashish, I know you're having audio challenges today. That's still kind of an open question about the intelligence of that bot around, DCO, around signed commits. Is this a topic of interest to anyone else that might want to partner with Ashish on this?
Yeah, like in case Ashish wants some help, then I can go for it.
Nice. Very good. Thank you for that, Nupur. Okay. Well, I guess if there aren't any other topics, I'll just say, hey, look, the gold strike is on. Naveen, watch out, man. I guess that's good. Okay, Raj, see you on Wednesday. I guess.
Yeah, Lee, thanks for giving this opportunity.
Sarab, good to see you. Thanks everyone for coming. Ajit,
Thanks.
very nice to have you on today. Right, all. Very good. Okay, well, we'll talk to everyone on Wednesday, next Friday.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye bye.